Hey everyone, I thought I'd give you a garden tour now that I have everything, or nearly everything planted. It is just before sunset. Look how beautiful it is outside. Look at that sky. Absolutely beautiful. So anyway, here we have the clematis that's been growing up, and I really hope that it crosses over this year. You can see how tall it's getting above the top of the trellis there, and I hope it kind of lays down, and our goal was that it would, cross over and actually connect. But look how nice looking those purple flowers are. Love those. Look, we got a ton more blooms about to happen. So I hope that continues. When we first walk in here, we have the sunflowers. Now this is where I had planted sunflowers on purpose in the past. And then these, as you can see, are kind of in the walkway, but that's because they seeded last year. So this is where they planted themselves, and I just kind of left them there. I didn't replant any there. So these are the really tall ones, like the tall gray striped sunflowers. They should get about that tall or so, like pretty tall. We always do lettuce in this front row here. Look at this romaine. Look how beautiful that is. That's perfect. Don't even play. That is just beautiful. We've harvested a lot of it. This will be the last week because the temperatures are coming up. This has been a great year for lettuce. Absolutely wonderful. It's been nice and cool. These smaller ones are extra ones that I planted because I just had them extra. And as they grow, they're not going to do well in the heat. They're going to go bitter, but that's okay because I have a whole unruly gang of chickens out there that will eat those even if they go bitter. So we're going to harvest the last of these this weekend. So if anybody wants any, now's the time to order those. As always, we do cucumbers up the back row. So I've got those going all along here. Then we have red romaine. It grows like a loose leaf. We've harvested quite a bit off of this, like this patch, and then you'll see some out of the middle, that sort of thing, but it fills in. That's the fun thing about it, is as you take some of it, it quickly fills in. Same thing with this loose leaf lettuce. This is called Sea Fresh, and I grow this every year, and it's really good, especially for salads. Every time we harvest it, it just fills right back in. So again, because of the warmer temperatures coming, we're going to have to take all of this, I believe, this weekend or within the next several days. This is the old spinach I had, and you can see how thick that fills in. It's covered up the spinach. I've got a new patch of spinach over there, I'll show you, but here's where I had a row of it, of the old stuff. Radishes, doing good. They're starting to bolt, so I'm going to take the last of these. We have already harvested more than once out of this, and like I said, they just fill in when you do that. But I grow radishes all year, so I'm going to take all of these up tomorrow, and then I'm going to plant new. The asparagus patch over here did quite well. I had to put string to tie it back. It's been so dry recently that they fall over, and they were like out here in the walkway. But yeah, look how tall they are. So always let the thin ones or the super thick ones, and then some we just don't get to in time, I let them grow up and go to seed. That way it repopulates down there, but then it also helps feed the roots. So we got a good crop next year too. These sunflowers also planted themselves, or actually one of them I think I transplanted out of there. It was growing in the raised bed and I transplanted over here. Oh, there's my pocket knife. I've been looking for that for 2 hours. The only good place for a pocket knife is in your pocket. If you lay it down, you will lose it if you're anything like me. So more cucumbers on the outside. And look, multiple kinds of carrots this year, as I always do. But normally I get in a hurry, I plant these even if it's windy or something, and I end up growing them in patches, like they grow thick. But this year I did really good about keeping it precise in a row, and then I did come through and properly thin them, at least to the best of my ability, within a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, even more kinds of carrots over here, doing really good. I'm very excited. We have a lot of people that like our carrots, and then we like them a lot too. So I always grow plenty of those. Then we have head lettuce over here, and this whole patch right here will be ready to take this weekend. Look at that. See, those are ready. See, that one is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I can't wait. And I do have, I think, 4 or 5 plants over here that were planted a little bit after these. So in less than a week, though, I still need to take it because of the heat coming. Here we have parsnips. This is an old parsnip, actually, from last year that was still under the ground, I guess, that started growing again. And this is one of those sunflowers that planted themselves. cucumbers, of course, in the back. This is the next spinach patch I was talking about. So this is the younger spinach patch. I do have spinach that is supposed to do better in the heat. So my next round to be that kind. And if it's not any good, that's okay. Like I said, I got a whole house full of chickens over there that would love it no matter what. Cayenne pepper plants, I plant these closer and closer together every single year, and they just do just fine. So I can get all these plants in this small little area, and that's way more than we'll ever need. Then we come to Serrano. Serrano always shoots up tall and thin. So I still planted these super close together, and I'm only doing about half as much as I would do I did last year. But they always grow tall and thin at first, and then when the heat comes, they thicken out and they branch out quite a bit. Unlike the habaneros, they stay short and stunted. So they kind of stay stumpy until it gets 85, 90 degrees consistently. And then these things really shoot up at that point. I love habaneros though. I love growing them, especially when they all start to turn orange. All right, we have more cucumbers back here and on the back row. These are bell pepper plants that were just extra, that I threw in this extra spot I had. Here we have a specific kind of pickling cucumber that I'm growing here, and I'm just going to let them I'm going to single vine them and let them hang down. So I won't get that many off of it, but it's an interesting way to do it that I'm going to try this year. These, I believe these big ones back here are called Boston pickling. I started those from seed inside, and yeah, anyway, they've grown a lot faster than the other kind of cucumbers. See, we already have blooms on some of them. Look at that, I have 2 chickens that flew the coop. That dark one always does. That dark one she's the only one that has ever been smart enough to fly out of the fence and then will put herself back to bed at night. She will fly back over the fence. That other one, as well as every other chicken, they're too dumb to do that. If they fly over the fence, they just can never figure out how to get back in. It's wild. All right, back to this. Okay, the cucumbers. Here is just a bare patch. I think I'm going to do chili beans here this year. I need to get off my butt and get those planted. Now's the time to do it. And then here we have kidney beans. Kidney beans, any beans like that are so fun to plant. They're so rewarding because within, I think, 3 days after I put them in the ground, they were already coming up. And then this is probably only about 3 days worth of growth. So they get really, they really take off fast, so it's very rewarding to grow, especially if you're a new gardener or you like for kids. Kids would love that because they don't have to be near as patient to get the reward. Over here we have banana peppers. I really like to put those on pizza. And then we have Roma tomatoes. I'm only doing half the amount we normally do, and I'm only doing them in the front. If you watch my videos from the previous years, you'll know that we discovered that any of these that we let hang over the side and grow downward like a vine, we always get better Roma tomatoes out of those. They're just better that way. So I planted all of mine up against the edge this year. So more cucumbers there, doing good. Over here we have the blueberries. I think this is the 3rd year for the blueberries. So I'm expecting a lot of growth. Now, I've not tested the soil. I know they have specifics that they like acidity and stuff, but I have not tested the soil. So we'll just see how they do this year. Yellow straight neck through here. I usually single stem those up. The grapevines, I did trim those in the late winter. So this is all new growth that you're seeing. And they were doing wonderful. See, that's a normal leaf. And then look what happens though. They were doing really good, and then this started to happen. And as you get toward the end, you can see that they're just outright dead. This happened last year, and it happened this year at the same time that field out there goes brown. So this is overspray damage. So my brother-in-law, who has worked with these chemicals his whole life, he confirmed that that's what it is. And then I have a friend that's kind of like a scientist that knows all about the plants and everything, and she also confirmed that that's what it's from. So it's where they spray that field, and grapes are super susceptible to it, more so than other plants. So unfortunately, that's damage from the neighbor's spray. So hopefully the plants will survive. I'm not sure what any long-term damage will happen, long-term with the plant having to go through this every year. I don't know. But as of this year, it looks like, look at that. That's looking good. So we should probably, as long as the rest of the plant does well, and stays healthy, we should probably get good grapes off of it this year. Over here we have various squashes, and like I said, I single stem up those up and then let them grow on the back wall here. These are acorn squash. Then we have butternut squash, and then spaghetti squash. Now here in about a week or so, I have to come through and put tin foil like on the bottoms of them, because we have the squash vine borer that comes through. Now squash bugs, that's going to be an all year battle, they always, but this will be a little different. You have to really get to it early to prevent those. Now over here we have more sunflowers. These I planted specifically, and these over here I planted specifically, and these I think are called red fire or something like that. It should be a deep purple. And then the bigger ones you see are volunteers that seeded themselves from last year that I left grow. I put some extra onions here next to the strawberry patch, and you can actually see there's some actual red back there. There's some strawberries going on. I usually pick these out as it's almost my reward for coming out and weeding. I'll come over here and eat all the strawberries. We have potatoes in bags. So there's Butterball and Kennebec potatoes in these bags. They did really good. And this one is a big one of Kennebec. Look at that. Just wonderful, marvelous. These are sweet potatoes, 3 bags of sweet potatoes. I've got these bamboo posts here that I will do like tripods above, so that as they get a little bigger and they start to vine, they can go up the tripods. But I always put them specifically here next to the onion patch. And the reason why is because we harvest those usually by July. So all of this would be bare ground. So I could also let these, which the vines get huge, they will go way out there, and they'll cover the ground. So I let them grow over the top of the onion patch once we harvest that as well, which I'll probably put like a pumpkin over here or something too, to kind of fill in this half maybe. Multiple kinds of onions, red, white, yellow, various kinds. Patterson and I think Ringmaster was another one I did this year. So I did a lot. You can see I've really packed them in there. Did a lot of onions this year. These are extra starts of lettuce that I started. It was more than what we could eat, sell, or put in the main raised bed over here. So I just put it down this walkway because, again, I've got a lot of chickens over there I could feed with it. All of these potatoes, I think for the most part, we started from seed potatoes from last year. So we grew potatoes last year. Oh, this is the robin. We have a pair that they are always on top of the garden walls. They always stop there all the time, and they're not afraid of me for the most part. I mean, I can't walk all the way up to them, but they'll fly within probably 4 or 5 feet of me and be just fine. So they're used to me being out here, and I'm used to them being out here. It's pretty cool to have them as part of the garden. So anyway, we had potatoes from last year that survived all the way to this year, and I just took the small ones and replanted them, and that's where most of these came from. Here we have jalapenos. These are specifically no heat jalapenos, which I have to grow quite a bit a ways from the heated jalapenos so that they don't cross-pollinate. Here we have broccoli, gypsy, I think this is gypsy variety broccoli. It should be a great year for broccoli because of the cool weather too. Zucchini, and then here we have a mess a raccoon actually got in. I thought it was Pudge the groundhog. Pudge and her husband live underneath the shed over there, and she was getting in, and I put those metal spikes down in the ground that kept her from digging under the gate. And then I thought she somehow got back in again, but I couldn't figure out how. And I looked out at the raised beds, and there were several plants were actually pulled up out of the ground. And I realized when I went over there, I saw there was a little tiny raccoon tracks. So I realized it was a raccoon that was actually getting in the garden. But anyway, I had buried chickens along this tomato row, dead chickens, of course, that died from natural causes, that I buried through here. And it's great fertilizer for the garden, but I'm assuming what it did was dig up, it was after the carcasses. So I've got to come through and repair that. But I owe Pudge an apology because I was cussing her behind the scenes, and it wasn't her. Oh yeah, down here, I think these are all Jet Star. And then over here we have Better Boy tomatoes. More zucchini at the end of every tomato row. Here we have sun cherries. So those are cherry tomatoes, but they stay yellow and they're super sweet. Here we have your regular like cherry 100 cherry tomatoes. paste tomatoes, and then grape. We really like the grape, even though we like the cherry tomatoes better. The grape are actually more superior to have because the skins are thicker, so they last longer, you could transport them better. So we always make sure we get grape too. This is a hybrid tomato that always does really well. It's just your classic medium-sized tomato. And then we have beefsteak over here, so your bigger, really good for slicing. Over here we have one called 4th of July. Now, I planted it late. I planted my garden late this year because of all the rain, and I worked more than a full-time job on top of that, and it just didn't line up. It took me forever to get everything planted, but still, this is the only tomato plant so far that has tomato starts on it. And with this particular variety, you're supposed to have ripe tomatoes by the 4th of July. So maybe I was a week or two past when I could have planted these. So I hope that by the end of July, this bad boy is producing a lot of good tomatoes. So we'll see how it works. So I will keep you all updated in future videos of how this one specifically is doing. This is another hybrid here, real easy to grow. Then we have Better Boy, again, kind of more your classic medium-sized round tomato. Here we have extra cucumbers. These are all pickling cucumbers that I added some fencing here. So I'm going to grow those up there. Hopefully get a whole lot for pickles this year. I do pumpkins out here, so that's what those little plants are. And I let them grow into this open area here. So they grow over here, but the plants are over here, but I have the pumpkins grow over here on the mulch. So it's so much easier, and it's just easier to maintain and easier to get into because they're not sitting in mud either. That always just feels better. So 4 different pumpkins here. These 2 are moonbeam, which are a white pumpkin. I've grown those for a couple of years and do pretty good with them. This is all cauliflower, and it is my favorite kind. This first section is my favorite kind. It's called Purple of Sicily. It's a purple cauliflower. You've probably seen it if you've watched my videos before. It grows purple, but it cooks white. Twisted hybrid. So these are all twisted hybrid. That's more your classic white cauliflower. And then this one is called Snow Crown. They stay smaller and they're super white, but we're going to try them and see how they do. I've never grown that kind before. Now over here, now I apologize, it is getting dark on us now. See look at that sky. Just beautiful. And then the sunset is over there, but it's blocked mostly by the trees. But that right there is beautiful. It's a wonderful time to be outside. All right, tons of bell peppers this year. This whole entire thing is nothing but bell peppers. And we have several different varieties. We have like your classic red bell, and then we have like colossal, which they produce less bell peppers, but they're bigger. And then California Wonder. I've got a whole bunch of those too. And I've grown those before and I've done well with them. So I made sure I got a bunch of those this year. Over here starts the poblano. That's Camille's favorite pepper there. And I would say our family as a whole, they're nice and big and they're great for stuffing. And then Anaheim, that's really one of my favorites too. You could roast those really good and they're quite mild. So they're not near as spicy as a jalapeno. And you could eat, I guess I could eat more of them and enjoy them better. These are your classic jalapenos, so these are the spicy ones. And remember, I've got the no heat ones way out there so that they don't cross-pollinate. I've got a handful of Carolina Reaper, so super spicy. Ghost pepper, super spicy. And then these are all cabbages. And then over here we have watermelon. I'm trying to hurry because it is starting to get dark. All right, on the last row here, I have leftover broccoli plants that I planted late. I hope they do well because, again, I planted this particular bit really late. This one is an extra zucchini that I had, so I've got enough zucchini to feed the whole neighborhood. These 2, first time growing these, I came across it at the greenery down the road, the produce joint. And anyway, it is called Chocolate Scotch Bonnet. So it's like a habanero, except it goes brown, and it should have like a smoky flavor to it. So I'm excited to try that and see how it goes. Now, last year I did the same bamboo post, just not as many of them. and I grew some cucumbers up them and then some beans up them. This time I did all beans, and I got even taller poles. The poles over there are the regular poles that I had last year, and then these are even taller. So it'd be pretty cool if when you walk into the garden over here, you might just see, if the beans grow all the way up it, it'll look almost like a wall back here. So I think that'd be pretty cool. You can see they're coming up there. The first ones are Kentucky Blue, so green beans through here, and then I've got pinto beans here, and then also over there, and then I have navy pea beans growing up the posts that are over there. Here I have corn, you can see coming up, so I just did 3 rows deep here, and then this bare section over here, in another week or two I'll plant more corn so I could get some in succession there. So that pretty well sums it up. That's where we're at with the garden. They're all putting themselves to bed now because it's getting dark, but I'm gonna have to let her in. And you can see, I think the really smart one, I don't see her. She probably flew back over and put herself to bed. Only chicken I have ever seen do that. And then this one's gonna panic until I let her back in. All right, I think that concludes it for now. So here it is as a whole. So we can compare in the future after all the growth starts. Now that the heat is coming, there's always that part that brings me, like, I get a little anxious about it because I know everything starts growing at the same time. The tomatoes will absolutely explode at the same time that these need weeded, and it's just, everything's going to happen at once, and it's going to get so overwhelming, and I'm going to be so stressed about it, but at the same time absolutely thrilled, as I always am. I love gardening. I love being around growing things. I've always liked it ever since I was a kid, and I love doing it today. I just feel like a much healthier person for having done it. Native garden bed out there. A friend of mine, and the person who actually designed most of this and did like the walkway and everything, is coming out tomorrow to make sure that that I truly understand friend from foe, weed from native plant in here. And the tree, the serviceberry tree, made it there. So very happy about that. So I'll probably do another video for you all later where we talk about what this is, why it is, and how it came to be. And I also planted some new stuff today. I've got raspberries back there at the edge of the property. And then we have hazelnut, another serviceberry tree, and elderberry plants. And then I also planted a persimmon tree that I bought at the farmer's market. So there's a persimmon tree back there too. So that's on the property line back there. That's the way I tricked my wife into planting more things, because she told me I could have this garden with the wall around it, and that would serve as my barrier. I can't go outside of it, because every year the garden got bigger and bigger, and she said, well, now this is your boundary. So after that, I found a way to have non-food producing plants, so native garden bed over here, and then she was perfectly okay with me planting fruit bearing and berry plants and the hazelnuts and all of that back there, because anything we don't want off of it, that's where we let the chickens roam on the grassy area there, and we let them free range out in that area. So anything that falls on the ground, they could eat all of that. So it was the perfect time to do it and the perfect place to plant it. So all right, I hope you all are doing all right. I will update everyone so we can see the growth and the changes as the year goes on. I hope you all are having a great weekend. Take care.